All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
When the sun lowers toward the horizon and the sky turns black.
I don't know what hovers over this house, but it was strong enough to punch a hole into this world.
When the normal makes way for the strange and unexplained.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
It's time to question what is natural and what lies beyond our understanding.
You never told me they could do that. I didn't know they could do that.
It's time to enter the edge of the unknown with your host, Mark Henry.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
And good evening, and welcome to the Edge of the Unknown. Ladies and gentlemen, the best in paranormal talk anywhere. My name is Mark, and I will be your host, as always, as we explore the strange, the odd, the unexplained, and perhaps, hey, things that do have an explanation. But we've got a great guest lined up for you tonight, and I got to do this real quick. And I don't want to spend too much time on this. Today was a very odd day for a lot of different folks. It was really kind of disheartening to me. As a former sports guy, a sportscaster, I woke up this morning listening to the Bills pregame show, and my longtime friend Howard was doing his thing, and a good friend of mine, Jeremy, was doing his thing on WGR, and had to deal with a lot of stuff that had nothing to do with football. A lot more political talk, a lot about protests, a lot about whose right it is to say what they want, when they want, where they want. And I got to be honest with you, it was really sad, and as much as I miss terrestrial radio and being the Sabres beat reporter and covering the Bills and all that kind of stuff, I was really glad I was not in that hot seat. Tonight, I get to talk about something really cool with a really cool person in a really cool show, and I don't have to deal with watching my friends and people that I've known, some of them for most of my life, tear each other apart and argue and fight and name call. And look, I don't care what you believe one way or the other about what the NFL players did today. And I don't care one way or the other if you think it was the biggest affront. We need to start treating each other a lot better in all circumstances and stop with the name calling, stop with the division, start listening to one another, and stop making these things that are really kind of sad a huge issue. Look, there's a lot of injustice in this country and in this world, and we have to pay attention to it. It's not something that we can just blow off. But we also have to be respectful of others' opinions and know that at the end of the day, we all need to still be friends. You shouldn't be blowing up your friendship with someone that you've been friends with for 30 years because you disagreed about what some guys did on a football field. But anyway, so there, I addressed that. Sports quota filled. I'll move on. It's funny because I just said, hey, everybody be excellent to one another, stealing from Bill and Ted's. And I want to say that tonight, like I always do here. We all respect one another's opinions, whether you're the staunchest of skeptics or the truest of believers. We all get along for a couple of hours each and every Sunday night, and that is what we are going to do this evening. So, with having said that, I hope everyone did have a great day. If you're a Bills fan, hey, the Bills got their second win of the season. The Saints finally broke out of their coma, and of course I don't have DirecTV anymore, so I didn't get to see my Saints win, but they stomped the snot out of the Carolina Panthers. That was awesome. But no matter where you are, daytime, evening, afternoon, morning, depending on where you are, I hope you are looking forward to a great show. Before we dive in, I want to remind everybody there's a live chat room at theedgeoftheunknown.com. You can sign in there and ask questions. You can also send any of your email questions to the email address, theedgeoftheunknown@gmail.com. If you want to interact with my guest live on the hotline, the phone line is always open for you, 716-218-3557. And, of course, find me on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to shoot me a message there, it's simply Edge of the Unknown Radio Show. All of those ways for you to get on board are highly encouraged as we delve into a great topic of paranormal investigation tonight and a very, very interesting show that you can see on YouTube and elsewhere. Tonight, my guest, Kitsie Duncan, is the lead investigator at the Oddity Files, a group that delves into the paranormal and paranormal sites and documents what they do and they do so in a really cool manner on YouTube. She, along with her team, seek out answers, and man, they look like they're having a lot of fun. I'm going to play a real fast clip here before we get Kitsie on the air. But I think this is one of the best put together shows, and everybody who listens to this show knows how much I hate the TV shows, the Zach Bagginses and all those guys, and I'm not going to beat them up too much tonight because we're going to actually focus on a different team that's doing something really cool. But this just is so devoid of all the slimy stuff that I have a problem with, and I want you guys to check it out. If you're playing at home, check out their webpage, oddityfiles.com, and of course you can find them on YouTube. All you have to do is type in Oddity Files. So before we welcome in Bitsy, Jesus. Before we welcome in Kitsie Duncan, I want to play this real quick clip. This gives you an idea of what we are going to be talking about tonight.
It's weird being back up where really everything started for me. I was sitting right here the very first time whatever said my name, and I don't know what's going on right now, but I have goosebumps.
Can you spell your name?
Okay, now if you're not intrigued already, I don't know what is wrong with you. I hope that you are. Oddity Files, it is my pleasure to welcome in Kitsie Duncan from the Oddity Files. Kitsie, off a busy weekend, thank you so much for taking some time out to be on the edge of the unknown.
Thank you so much.
You know,
I'm curious. I didn't hear what the clip was that you played. I'm wondering if I had to have recorded it and then listened back for the EVPs.
Oh, rats! No, this was the one that came up on the Oddity Files Crew page, the Jailhouse Pizza, and you guys are playing with a Ouija board, which is obviously something we're going to delve into, and
yes.
And also, I mean, all the other things that you do, but just the way that the production that goes into this. This is a highly professional show that probably deserves a heck of a lot more accolades than you are already getting, even though I'm sure you get plenty. But let's talk about the genesis of this. How did the Oddity Files come about? When did it all start?
About 7 years ago, I'd always been scared of ghosts and scary movies and all this, that, and the other. And then I caught one of said shows you were talking about earlier, and I'm like, well, you know, nobody died, so paranormal investigating can't be that bad. So I got hooked, and I watched them, and then I met some friends that had a paranormal group, and I went along on one of the investigations, and I'm like, oh, this is really, really cool. So I got together with some of my friends, and we learned by trial and error, pretty much, is how we learn to do what we do. And I just want to say thank you so much for saying all those nice things about Oddity Files. That was wonderful.
Well, no, I love it. I mean, when I first reached out to you a couple of years ago, you were on a show that a group that unfortunately no longer exists had you on their show, and I immediately reached out to you, and for whatever reason, we were going to do a show, and then I couldn't do it, or you couldn't do it, and I was like, you know what? Once I get back after I've been off for a year. I took some time off after my father passed away, and then I started looking back into the people that I had never had on the show, and I was like, yeah, the Oddity Files. I got to reach out to them because I love. There's two things I love in the paranormal. I love supernatural, and I think you and I were talking about that on Facebook, going back and forth on Messenger. I'm obsessed with that show.
Don't even get me started on Dean Winchester.
Okay, well, all right then. But I love your show because, like I said, there's no pretension. There's none of that show yourself and all this nonsense acting and silliness and running away and all that kind of thing. You put together a very, very professional show that has all of the elements that the other guys do, but it's not full of bullshit. And I love that.
Well, thank you. You know what it is? It's a bunch of friends getting together, having a good time, seeing what we can drum up. It really is. And I do watch the shows. I'm not going to lie, but I don't, I'm not out there. What they do is, you know, textbook. You know what I'm saying? I was talking to somebody the other day, and it's like, there really are no rules when it comes to this. There's no textbook. There's no, you know, outline of how to be a paranormal investigator. I'm going to do what it takes to get the evidence. And 9 times out of 10, that's having a conversation with somebody you don't see in a dark room via a flashlight or an EVP recorder, or my favorite thing, the Wonder Box and Spirit Box. So, and it seems to work for us. So, and we love it. We really do. And I'm glad it shows. So thank you again.
Yeah, and a lot of times what I like is that you're not sitting in the dark. It's stuff that happens in the middle of the day where you go to a place to explore, and it's not all the, the night vision cameras and we got to turn the lights off and, and all that sort of thing. It's, hey, we're going to this place today at 4:00. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. And, 9 times out of 10, we have to go when the place will let us arrive.
Sure.
Fortunately, this summer we did a lot of investigations where at 6:00, the sun's still out. So we can, test things out, see if there's a difference between, the dark time and the daytime. And I mean, that's all the questions we want answered being paranormal geeks, is there a difference is there really a witching hour? I don't think there is. I think if they're going to interact with you, they're going to do it whenever they're ready.
I was just going to honestly ask you that, if you have noticed a difference. So obviously you haven't. And why do you think that stigma still exists, that it all has to be done in the dark? And is it that need, perhaps, that we want to be scared rather than looking at something like, no, we're actually here seriously looking into if something is going bump in the night?
No, absolutely. I think a lot of paranormal investigators want to be scared, and they get themselves hyped up. And in the dark, it's scarier because you don't know what's behind you, because you can't see because it's dark. I'm not dissing it in any way, shape, or form.
Sure, no.
Maybe people are more comfortable doing that, but I think you can get the evidence. I mean, if it's there, you can get the evidence any time of day.
So when you first started doing this, talk a little bit about your first investigation, how you got your team together, and just started to say, hey, maybe we need this kind of piece of equipment, maybe we need that kind of piece of equipment. How did it all start, where you just got everyone together and said, we're all on the same page, let's go see what we can find?
Well, like I said, I had started with another group that I met through some sort of an event that was at a haunted location. I went on a whim, or I think we might have been helping somebody film something there. And then I met this group, and they said, hey, we're going to head to Black Moon Manor. If you'd like to come along, you can. And at that time I had a recorder, and I think my husband had something laying around, the little thing. I don't even know what it's called. It's been a long day. I think it was an EMF meter, but it looked like the old Geiger counters, where the needle would move back and forth.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
We took that with, and it was insane. I mean, the first time there was an EVP, there were no children at the location, but there was an EVP, and it sounded like a child playing with cars. It was like going vroom, vroom, pow, pow. And I mean, there was nobody in the house, let alone no children in the group when that was recorded. And I'm like, whoa, this is real. This isn't, no wonder everybody loves this. And then, they kind of went on and did their own thing. And I had some friends. We were bored one night. I'm like, you know what? I know this guy who knows a haunted location in this town, 2 towns over. Let's go see what's there. And we were terrified the entire time. I guess they used to do devil worship there. The spirits broke one of my brand new cameras I had just gotten. Wow. It was insane. And I was just completely hooked.
And obviously, the team that you go out with has the same kind of interest. One thing that I've noticed, and again, if you're just tuning in, Kitsie Duncan is my guest from the Oddity Files, oddityfiles.com. One thing that I've noticed is a lot of the groups that I've had, I mean, I've been doing this show since 2010 on a number of different venues, both terrestrial radio and then straight, what I'm doing now, all internet stuff. But I've noticed that a lot of the folks that I had on in that 2010 to 2011 period are no longer together. And some groups still are, which is terribly encouraging. Did you ever have that moment where you were like, well, we really don't want to do this anymore? Or are you still as solid with the team that you've had, saying, we need to keep moving forward and keep looking for answers?
Yeah, we are. Sometimes not everybody can make it in every investigation. And the last few investigations we've been on, we've narrowed it down to 3 people because of circumstances, this, that, and the other. And it's my son and a family friend who's young enough to be my son. I'm a grandmother. I'm going to put it out there. It's real. But when you get, my personal feeling is if you have like a 15-member crew, I feel like the evidence just isn't as good. I don't know why. I wish I really did. Like I said, there's absolutely no rules. But us three together on the past 4 or 5 investigations we've done, including the Jailhouse Pizza episode you were talking about, it just, I don't know. I don't know if it's our personalities, maybe the spirits like us, or what it is. But yeah, but yes, I'm going to answer your question. But life gets in the way, you know? I mean, seriously, it's not a job for most of these people. And sometimes, you know, babies are born or you have to move because of jobs and things like that. So I think that's probably the case.
And I think, and I wasn't intimating that you were in this category, but I also think that people's interests wane after a while, or they get tired of doing the same thing. A lot of guys, like I said, outside of investigative groups, people that I've had on the show, I've reached out to and said, hey, you know, you still want to have that conversation? You want to continue on with what we talked about last time? And they'll tell me flat out, no, I'm really not into that anymore. And I always, not passing judgment, kind of think about that and say, was your heart really ever in it to begin with?
No, absolutely. And I am obsessive compulsive, and I am obsessed with paranormal investigation. I'm not going to lie. I just feel like every investigation I get just a little bit more, which makes me want a lot more. You know what I'm saying?
It's like tattoos.
Exactly. So I don't know. And, you know, I mean, we all know it. We're all paranormal people. There's paradrama out there as well. I mean, there's actually a name for it. So.
Oh, trust me. I've been caught up in it, and I try to avoid it as much as I can. Like, that's one of the things that I always say. If you've got an axe to grind, leave it at the edge of the edge. This is not the forum for you to do that. So.
No, absolutely not.
Kitsie Duncan, my guest here on The Edge of the Unknown. Check out her webpage and her show, The Oddity Files, oddityfiles.com. We would love to hear from you, The Edge of the Unknown at gmail.com. And, of course, you can give us a ring if you feel so inclined, 716-218-3557. And find me on Facebook and other social media outlets. If you've got a question, we would love to hear from you tonight. Kitsie, I got to ask, I got into all this stuff when I was pretty young. I mean, I'm still interested in the same things, the paranormal, Godzilla, you know, whatever. I mean, I'm still a nerd. I'm still a dork. But how early of an age did you get into the paranormal? Was there something that brought you to it at the younger ages, like the way I got into things?
No. I didn't get into it until I was about 36 years old.
No kidding.
No kidding. So I was terrified of it as a child. Scared of horror movies, scared of Poltergeist did it for me. I'm not going to lie. I'm a child of the 80s. Scared the crap out of me.
Uh-huh.
But I think there was a reason for it. And I think maybe I got into that to figure out what this reason is. I started doing this, and on locations would have certain reactions in certain spots at a location and things like that. And one of my very, very early investigations, I walked through this hallway and I couldn't breathe. I had to sit down. I didn't know what was wrong, but there was a psychic medium there, and she asked if I was okay. And I said, yeah, I just don't know what's going on. She goes, you just walked through a portal. Has anybody ever told you you're an empath? I'm like, what? So I think that's why I blocked it out as a child, if that makes any sense. Because I knew it was there. I felt it was there, and it scared me to death.
No, that makes perfect sense. I have friends who are terribly rational people. I grew up in a weird house, and again, I look back at it and say, did everything happen the way we thought it did? Who knows? It's getting on 40 years ago that all that stuff went down. But I do have friends that saw or heard and at least witnessed things that they never want to talk about it. They're just like, nah, that was really scary, and I hated that night, and I didn't want to stay over at your house anymore. They don't even want to talk about it now, or they'll actually say, I kind of put that out of my head afterwards, and I never wanted to look back at it. So I can totally see where you're coming from.
Right, right. And I actually grew up in a house that was previously owned by funeral directors. They owned a funeral home.
Yikes.
And you know how everybody's got that one? Well, apparently you do. Everybody's street's got that haunted house, you know, that the kids walk by and go, ooh, that one's haunted. Well, I lived in that house. So, and, you know, things would go missing in the house, and Mom would just, you know, play it off. Oh, it's the ghost. It'll show up tomorrow. And it would. So I think I blocked it out. I always slept with my blankets over my head and all that. And then in my 30s, my stepdad passed away, who raised me. So he was my father. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to know more. I wanted to know that he was okay. So, and then I'm like I said, I started watching these shows. I'm like, okay, people aren't dying. I just need to know that there is a place where he could be and that he's okay. Again, I know that doesn't sound rational, but in my brain it does.
No, it's fine. That's fine.
And then recently I met one of the most amazing psychic mediums ever. And I had my very first reading of, you know, the spirits that are around me and the spirits that protect me. And one of them that came through was my dad. And she knew stuff that there's no way. I mean, you know, people say psychics read body language, this, that, and the other. She knew, and there's absolutely no way she could have known. And he said he was so proud of this, and that just made it. So now I'm never going to stop.
I'm not kidding. My wife and I, not my wife, but I've told her, I said, you know, in the sad day when I finally leave, blessing her with me, my wonderful presence, I told her a word that no one knows, and I said, you know, if I can, and if there is an afterlife, if there is what we're talking about, I will pass that along. I've asked her to do the same, and she just tells me stop being morbid, so we change the subject and move on. But what are you going to do? Yeah. But that's fantastic. I do hear that a lot. I've had a lot of mediums on this station or on this show and my past stations, and I've never had a psychic reading. I've never actually gone out and done that. Talk a little bit about that experience, because like I said, most of the time I have people on who do that sort of thing, but not people who have been to them and had something that they consider an experience that is worth talking about.
First of all, I'm going to say you need to look up Tiffany Rice.
Okay.
Because this is my girl, and I think you need to have her on and have her give you a reading, because she is the bomb. My grandmother came through, and I bought a ring. When I was a child, my grandmother gave me her class ring. Very Art Deco style. It was just stunning, and I lost it. I don't even know. Well, I'm sure she knows by now I lost it because she's looking down on me. But recently I'd been to an antique store, and I bought a few rings that really, really reminded me of her. And the only person who knew that was my husband, who doesn't believe in any of this. Mm-hmm. So, of course, he wasn't at my psychic reading. And she goes, well, your grandmother's coming through, and she wants me to talk to you about the ring. I'm like, oh, shit, she knows I lost the ring, you know? And then she's like, no, she loves that you bought that ring and that it reminds you of her. And I just started bawling. I mean, that's pretty specific. You know what I mean?
And I don't mean to interrupt, but I think this is also the issue that I have with it, where folks like you and folks like your friend Tiffany are doing something, and it's not these silly. Who's the one that drives me insane? The Long Island one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and again, I don't want to beat anybody up tonight, even though I'm already beating her up. But I just look at that shit, and I'm like, you know what? This is so ridiculous. But I have heard friends who have been to psychics, and I'm literally an hour from Lilydale. I don't know if you're familiar with Lilydale. It's basically the home of spiritualism. We had the sisters that grew up.
Supernatural episode about that place.
Yeah, it's not actually. I'm going to have to be right near there on Thursday. But anyway, for my day job.
It's reading.
But I mean, I hear stories like that, and I'm like, okay. And then I see the cheesy stuff where it's just like they're forcing, or it's that cold reading, where they're looking for someone in the audience. I think there's a bigger difference between that and actually sitting down with someone and getting information, like you said, that no one could possibly know.
Right. Right. No, absolutely. And it was just her and I and a couple friends, and my friend Sarah with notes so I could go back later. If Tiffany had said something that wasn't quite clicking, then I could, if I thought of it later, I could go back through the notes and figure out what it was. And it was just amazing. And Tiffany, can I just give her a plug?
Oh, please go ahead.
It's tiffanyrice.com. I recently went on my first investigation with her.
I was going to ask about this. Great.
Yeah. And because of my empathness and because I do all these investigations, sometimes I get stories pop in my head at locations. I just assumed that it was either my overactive imagination or that I'm batshit crazy or what it was. So I had her walk through. I'm just cursed. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Fourth time I've done it.
So have I. You're fine. Last week I actually extended the show for a half hour because I'm the chief of police and I'll do whatever the fuck I want, and that's the way I run things now. So you're fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh shoot! And then so I walked through the location and she followed me because I wanted to know, is what these feelings I'm getting, are they real? Is it something I'm pulling out of thin air? And it was dead on, and she was so supportive and so wonderful. Definitely check her out online and have her on as a guest. She's in Rhode Island and she does readings for a radio station out there, and she's like a little fan base. I'm so proud of her.
Was she the first person that you took out in that kind of capacity on an investigation as far as being a psychic medium?
She was not. Molly O'Connelly is a part of our crew. Okay. And she's helped me a lot too. It's actually fun when Molly and I investigate together because I'll get feelings and then she confirms them. Sometimes the spirits will tell her something, or she'll case in point, our Revenant Acres episode. We were sitting around in the living room and she asked a spirit a question, and I look around and I go, did somebody just say yes? I just heard a female voice say yes. And Molly and I were the only females there. She goes, well, I didn't say it, but I just asked the spirit if she needed help. And then I heard the yes. So it's really neat. I can't explain it, but it's really cool to be there and when it's going down.
Kitsie Duncan, my guest here this evening on The Edge of the Unknown. We would love to hear from you. If you want to get on board, give us a yell. 716-218-3557. Email theedgeoftheunknown@gmail.com. And again, if you're playing from home, check out her webpage, oddityfiles.com. And, of course, they are on YouTube. I am a huge proponent of YouTube now. I do a side project, which I mentioned a little bit excuse me, that I'm not going to dwell on too much, but I think it is such a great way for people to get their stories out. And you guys go over the top with your production, but I know others that just go on and do like an audio blog. How happy are you with doing that before we have to go to a break? How happy are you with doing it on YouTube rather than trying to pitch it to some local TV station or any other place that would probably behoove them to actually pick you up?
Can I get that in writing? Of course, I'd love to be on television. That would be so cool. That means I don't have to edit anymore, which is my nemesis.
Oh, joy.
But it's fun. It really is. I wish, I had all the time in the world to sit and edit Oddity Files 24 hours a day so I could have more episodes. But I don't. And editing is very daunting. And every episode, it takes over my life till it's done. I mentioned earlier, OCD. I have to finish it, have to finish it. So, but it's been fun. It's been a neat way to get to meet people like you and people through our Facebook and our Twitter. It's a really good time. And it is on YouTube. It's Oddity Files Crew because YouTube screwed up my other account. It's Oddity Files.
Okay, I'm glad you cleared that up because I did notice that. So it's Oddity Files Crew.
Yes.
Kitsie Duncan, my guest here this evening on the Edge of the Unknown. We do have to take a break. Yes, we have to pay some bills, so we're going to have to go and do that right now. But we're taking you up until 10 o'clock this evening here, Eastern Standard Time. And I'll tell you what, if you hear barking in the background, I could not resist doing the show from my Florida room. It was almost 90 degrees and maybe even over 90 degrees some places here in Western New York today. And I was like, do I do it in the studio or do I do it outside? I'm going to do it outside so Lance, the paranormal pup, can run around in the backyard. But if you hear him barking, he's keeping the rabbits and deer out of the backyard. That's his job. So that's what he is doing. Hey, like I said, we got to take a fast break. We're going to be right back with more of The Edge of the Unknown with Kitsie Duncan from the Oddity Files, oddityfiles.com. Want to hear from you guys? Hope everybody is enjoying their evening or their morning, wherever you might be. And we'll be back right after this. Everybody, stick around. Much more coming up here on The Edge of the Unknown.
Hello. What are your fears? Are you badgered by domestic affairs, haunted by ghosts or demons, terrorized by those who would use magic as a weapon, or tormented from within? I can end it. I can stop it. I can cast them away, for I am a sorcerer, and protecting people from these things is what I do. Seek my services at sorcererforhire.com. or call now for faster service 206-501-0444, because time is not on your side.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
It's a fact. The best sounding music comes from analog audio found on vinyl records. But high quality vinyl has been hard to find until now. Records Etc. in Williamsville, New York is your destination for new and used vinyl records in a variety of categories from blues to Zydeco. Located in the Eastern Hills Mall, Records Etc. is easy to find and fun to shop. Classical, rock, comedy, and new wave are waiting for you at Records Etc. So dust off your turntable or pick one up at the store and start listening to music the way artists intended it to be heard. They also carry rock and roll memorabilia, t-shirts, posters, and more. That's Records Etc. in the Eastern Hills Mall in Williamsville. Call 716-481-7177 and ask for Ray for more information. Records Etc. Tunes for our times.
For those interested in delving deep into the paranormal, why not look into the Paratech Store? Located at paratechstore.com, browsers will find the latest in investigative equipment, books, and more. Items go beyond technical equipment. Mojo bags, stone sets, and other curiosities await your exploration at the Paratech Store. paratechstore.com. Visit them today.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I was sensitive to lights and sounds, so I built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. Sometimes I do the same things over and over, until one day I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Looking for the best Japanese and Thai cuisine in Western New York? Then you have to visit Teton Kitchen at 415 Dick Road in Depew. From appetizers and soups, simple, special, big, and fusion-style maki, to sushi, sashimi, and tempura, you won't get a range of items like this anywhere. Hungry for more? Teton Kitchen offers a full dinner menu and kushiyaki dishes, as well as a huge variety of sake, wine, beer, both domestic and Asian imports. Owner Taka and his bride Kin are proud to boast that Teton Kitchen is Yelp's #1 rated restaurant in Western New York, and they welcome you for lunch or dinner 7 days a week with takeout and online ordering available. Visit TetonKitchen.com for their full menu, hours, and online ordering, or call 716-393-3720. Teton Kitchen, 415 Dick Road in Depew.
Itadakimasu.
Hi, this is Lady Sable Aradia, and you're listening to Edge of the Unknown with Mark Henry.
Welcome back to the Edge of the Unknown, everybody. I don't know what that was, but I heard a really odd buzzing in my headphones. Hopefully my guest, Kitsie Duncan, did not hear that. She is representing the Oddity Files. It's great to be with you on a Sunday evening, and I'm glad that we have a cool guest. We're talking a little bit about paranormal investigation this evening, and I hope that you are enjoying it wherever you may be. Hey, we've got a really, really cool lineup for the month of October. And, you know, for the last month of what we're supposed to be already into fall, but like I mentioned before we went to the break, it has been unseasonably warm here in Western New York. It's been in the 80s and high 80s almost every day for the last 5 or 6 days. I'm not sure how much longer that's going to actually hold up, but man, today was hot. I was actually doing some painting outside, and I can't imagine anybody who was out at the Buffalo Bills game today sitting there in that sun, but what a weird fall we are having, and hey, I'm okay with that for a couple of more weeks. I wouldn't mind if that would keep on trucking, but like I said, we've got an unbelievable lineup. Magician Mike Siege is going to be on the show October 8th. Stanton Friedman, the UFO, the flying saucer guy, as he likes to call himself, is going to be ringing in. He's actually going to be not too far from here on a speaking tour in the city of Rochester, obviously just an hour up the road from where I am right now. But he's going to be on. We're going to be talking about Bigfoot with the Squatch detective Steve Culls. So lots of really great guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. And you know what? We're having a good time with a great guest this evening. Again, Kitsie Duncan, I know you've had a terribly busy weekend. It is awesome that you are hanging out with us tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. So, speaking of Bigfoots, or big feets as I like to call them,
sure.
I went to my first Cryptid Con a couple weeks ago. I went for paranormal reasons. I got to meet the new Kirks and within their traveling paranormal museum and things like that. But I met the most interesting man in the world and saw pictures of baby big feet. It was amazing.
Who is this?
Just some random guy I met outside. I'm like, we just happen to have the Oddity Files camera with us. I'm like, do you mind if I interview you? He was the most interesting man in the world. It's not the guy in the commercials. It's this guy. I'll send you a message later with his name on it because the name, I'm a total brain fart. It's completely escaping me right now.
Did you publish the interview though, or is it something
We've not. We're going to put it into an episode here coming up soon, but we will.
Interesting.
So,
wow. Yeah. We have and I think it'll actually be coming up in a couple of weeks. We do have one large symposium for Sasquatch down closer to the Pennsylvania border, and I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about it this year, but they usually do it around this time of the year. I think it's in October or fall. I have to check that out. I've run spots for them before, but I've never been. I mentioned to you before we went on air, I've only been to one Comic-Con. I've never been to a scare fest. I've never been to a paranormal con. I've never done any of that. I don't know. I've never been drawn to that. Tell us a little bit about that before we get back into the Oddity Files and more of your investigations.
About the Cryptocon or
Yeah,
about...
honestly, just I've never been there. I'm interested to know what it's like.
It was a first-year show. It was actually put on by the people who do Scarefest in Lexington, Kentucky, and Nick Groff was part of it as well. And I didn't know anything about, everybody, hears the legends and the lore, and I actually live in the middle of a forest in the middle of Indiana that is, historically known for having Bigfoot in it. I used to joke that it was my oldest son because he was hairy. People would just snap pictures of him as he was walking around out there. But it's intrigued me a little bit. I finally watched one of their shows, and it's a whole similarity to it. They've got the green night vision cameras, and they've got their calls they do, and it's entertaining and a little bit intriguing.
I've never done it. I don't know. I mean, I'm interested, and actually, the reason that Steve Culls is going to be on a little bit later in the month, when we're going to have him on a little bit earlier, he's going to Scarefest. Like I said, I've never been to one, and I don't know. I don't know if I could do it. I really don't, because I know I'm such an ass, and I'm a skeptic, and I'm such a fence sitter because I'm a skeptic believer. I don't know how well I would handle it, being able to keep the open mind that I always tell everybody that you've got to keep an open mind.
Yeah. And, I was born a fangirl. I just was. And unfortunately, my job has led me to meet so many great people. One of the first paranormal people I ever worked with was Grant Wilson, who was an amazing, amazing man. And I've pretty much just met about everybody out there who's, on the television. Rob Lowe is my next, because of course he's Rob Lowe. Didn't I say I was in the 80s? Come on. But it's neat. It's neat. And you get to meet a lot of people that are into the same thing you are. That's what Comic-Con really is. It all boils down to.
Sure.
You're waiting in line for a photo op with a bunch of different people that love the same thing you do. You end up having a conversation, you keep in touch for years. That's why I love the whole convention experience. I think it's a great way for people to meet other like-minded people.
I was bummed because no one out of the hundreds of people that were there selling comic books had any of the comics that I wanted, and I realized I'm a much bigger dork than I thought, because nobody was like, everybody was laughing. They're like, nobody has that. You're never going to find those. So anyway,
$5 million.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, I love Evangeline. I don't know. I'm sort of a comic guy, and I was big into the Punisher and a couple of other ones, the Justice Machine. But nobody had Evangeline, and I was like, this was a total waste coming here. But then again, I was just kidding. It wasn't. It was a lot of fun. But I am sharing way too much with myself tonight. I never do this, but I'm having a good.
You here? It's me. So
it must be you.
Angeline fetish.
Now, yeah, exactly. The Roman Catholic nun with a shotgun. That's what Mark Henry really, really likes. Okay, 716-218-3557 if you want to get on board. Check out the website, oddityfiles.com. Kitsie Duncan is my guest here this evening. Let's dip into the mailbag, and we'll go to, let's see, excuse me, let's go to Rick. Rick writes in and says, great show tonight, Mark. More ghost stuff like this, please. Can I ask Kitsie a question? With your experiences, do some of the commercial places seem like they are just cashing in on rumor and legends? I've never been to Waverly or the Shanley Hotel because I think it's all more hype than anything, than anything else. Rick, thanks for writing in.
Yeah, Rick, that's actually a great question, because I do go to I don't do residential investigations. I don't hire myself out to clear homes or things like this. This is pretty much all research for me. And the easiest places for a group like mine to get in are these places that, have paranormal nights where you can go in and investigate. So I've pretty much only been to those places. And you know what? I honestly think it all depends on the night you're there. It's like, okay, let's say you're at a friend's house and one day they're not very conversational, and then you're over there a couple nights later and you just can't shut them up. Ghosts were people at one point, right? maybe they have their good days and their bad days. Does that make sense?
I think so. And I think it also kind of lifts a little bit of the burden for what you just said. You're not there to cleanse. You're not there to change things. You're not there to help people or fix something that they might think is going wrong. A lot of people I have on the show do that sort of thing. It's kind of more like what you said. It's research. You're focused on what's actually happening and not, oh, hell, what are we going to do about this afterwards?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't want to screw that up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You tell them you're cleansing their house and you open a portal, I mean, that's got to happen at some point.
And what happens if nothing changes? Now your name is on it and you didn't do anything. That's kind of, that's not a really fun way to live, I would assume.
No, I can't imagine. I did go to Waverly once, though. And it wasn't, a lockdown where it was me and my crew. Like I said, I've met some great people with my day job doing the photo ops at Comic-Cons and horror conventions. And Steve Gonzalez was in the area. He said, come on down. I know you want to check out Waverly. And I went down there, and it was a big group investigation. But I will say, of a lot of people that I've met that have investigated some of the most popular paranormal locations in the world and in the country, everybody says Waverly is at the top of the list. So I'm like, okay, gotta go. Met Steve there. And while group investigations I'm not a fan of, just because if you see a shadow, it's probably a shadow of the guy standing 2 doors down from you. Right. If you hear footsteps, it's probably footsteps of the people 7 doors down from you. But my son's part of our crew. He was actually in the Jailhouse Pizza episode as well, Carter. And we kind of went along. We were testing out some new cameras at a cool location, But I did see something there that I've never seen before or again in my life. So I think Waverly is absolutely the real deal. I can't even really explain what it is I saw. We were kind of, how Waverly's got those open areas at the front of the building where they'd wheel the beds out so the patients could sit in the sun. I was standing out there with Carter, and it wasn't even out of the corner of the eye, full on in front of my eyes. I saw what looked like, when the stormtroopers would shoot their guns, the little laser beams that would shoot out.
Okay.
I literally saw the 3 of them. They were golden in color, shoot past me. Flashlights don't make that effect. It wasn't that bright. I don't know, but now I want to know what it is. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Well, not the craziest. I work Comic-Cons, but I'm intrigued. And, someday when I get a budget for this show and it's not all, the bank of my husband paying for all this stuff, I want to get into Waverly, just, a couple of us, and just go to town. I think a lot of them are the real deal, and that's why they're so popular. But again, it's going to be hit or miss, because my theory is, again, I mean, these spirits are energies. You know what I'm saying? So, and energy wavers. It's not like you can say, hey, do this 5-hour energy shot real quick for me so you can have a conversation with me. So, and they're moody. I don't believe in demons, but I believe there are asshole ghosts out there. I treat them all like they're people, which again makes me sound crazy. But it works.
But not at all. I think that whether you believe or you don't, if you are a huge skeptic going into any place that has allowed you to come in or has invited you or you've asked to be invited, there is a level of respect that has to be kept, because nobody wants to deal with a jerk who's trying to stir things up or is just there to be a problem. So I totally see where you're coming from with that.
And I want to tell the story. Every location's got, the story of this happened in this room. People get all the evidence. I want to know the story of the person in the room 7 doors down who's not as vocal as whatever this spirit is. And I want to hang out in that room because I feel an energy in there and find out that story. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
sure.
We recently won at Culbertson Mansion in New Albany, Indiana, and everything's about the Culbertsons because it was the Culbertsons mansion. The entire time, our conversation 9 times out of was with a little girl. Well, not little. She was 15, but she was a daughter of one of the servants. And her story came through in my head. Again, I'm not sure if it was my crazy because I didn't have my spirit medium there, but it was a pretty intense investigation for us all. But what was great about it is we were only the second paranormal team ever allowed in there. And the previous team, it was like 10 years ago. So I believe that energy was able to build up. And that's why it was so easy for them to communicate with us. Whereas Waverly's investigated every night of the week. And, the spirits have to run out of energy sometimes.
How open are these people who own these places to having folks like you come in with a bunch of equipment and knowing that you're going to be looking into the claims that they make? And I mean, the truth is that they believe there's something happening there. You obviously are interested in finding out something, but they are kind of putting their ass on the line if you don't find something. How comfortable are they just saying, hey, come on in, and if you find something, you find something, and if not, you don't?
I've never had a problem with that. They said, just do what you do and let us know what you find.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It is. And those are the places that I think are legit.
Honestly, I there's a dear friend who has been on the show a number of times. I've actually done this show live from her place, the Iron Island Museum, in Buffalo, New York. I've heard some strange things there. I brought my dog there. I've done lots of goofy things. I'm not an investigator by any means. I'm certainly not. But I've taken lots of people in there to see the museum and experience what's going on there. And there's never been that pushback. There are other places in this area that have page after page after page of rules and conduct and what you can do and don't look left on a Wednesday. I mean, it is one of the most convoluted things I've ever seen, and that's where I get that bitterness and that don't bullshit a bullshitter. Okay, if the place is haunted, that's cool, but if you're going to run it like an amusement park, that's kind of an insult to anyone who is interested in going in there, and it would certainly be an insult to any presence that might actually be in the building or the grounds of that place.
Yeah. Well, I think that's I'm in the Midwest. You're on the East Coast. We're a little more laid back out here.
The flyover country. Everybody is just so much more mellow over there than we are out here.
I've done a lot of shows on the East Coast. Y'all can be angry sometimes.
I am not going to lie. Yes, that is true. I experienced that where I'm like, I'm not even in New York. I mean, New York City, when I go to visit my brothers-in-law, I turn into a completely different person. I'm like, holy God, where I live in Western New York, it's nice and quiet. It's laid back. It's cool. It's a park-like setting in where I live, my backyard. I get into New York City and I want to kill people, and I'm like, this is totally not me.
You're like, is that my defenses going up, or is this a part of me I didn't
exactly,
even know?
Man. If I make the mistake of going over the George Washington Bridge, I'm ready to run people right off of that thing into the river. But anyway,
Kitsie, I have a lot of friends that are New Yorkers, but people are just a little aggressive on the East Coast.
We're a little tough out here. That's all there is to it. So, Kitsie Duncan, my guest here this evening on The Edge of the Unknown. We would love to hear from you. 716-218-3557. The Edge of the Unknown at gmail.com. Phone lines are quiet tonight, but hey, you know what? They are always open for you. Kitsie, I want to ask you about your team. You mentioned that your husband is a little bit more skeptical than other people. Do you think that that's a good way to put a team together, to have a little bit more of a well-rounded team rather than a bunch of people who are focused on the same thing?
This is a question of the ages, isn't it? I believe your team should be several different kind of personalities, but all looking for the same outcome. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're all skeptics. I mean, we're all going to be like, oh no, that was really just a dog barking. If it was,
right.
At least I hope so. I don't know. That is the question of the ages. I feel like if somebody's too skeptical and they're so anti and against it, and they're, writing everything off at, oh, that was just this. And I feel like spirits don't want to interact with those people. But that's just my feelings.
It's interesting because I know a lot of folks who go on Gosh, it sounds so bizarre to me, and I've actually gotten into arguments with folks who have been on this show about the way that they do these things, where they'll have a party or a wine tasting or some kind of event, and then also do the ghost tour. And I would think for anyone, I mean, even as a human being, that seems to be a little bit confusing, and I can't imagine if there is the other side trying to make contact or do whatever they do in that building, that would be detrimental to any kind of investigation. It just doesn't make sense to mix the two.
I don't know. How so? Now I'm interviewing you again. Why do you feel that way?
The reason that I feel that way is that when you start to mix any other stimulant, or whether it be a narcotic or whether it be a depressant or whatever we were going to call it, that would, number one, it takes the edge away from you as an investigator, and might again, I'm speaking in such a hypothetical manner for something that we don't even know that exists. But I mean, all of a sudden, why would I want to interact with somebody who's had 5 beers and is asking me questions? You see what I'm saying? I just think it's a weird edge to walk. Whether is this an investigation or is this a party?
I've actually, one investigation was on, there was a certain spirit that was there that was supposed to interact with women more if the ladies were drinking.
Really?
So I think maybe a glass and a half would bring your guard down a little bit, make you, see, that's the thing. I think more people just need to be open and just kind of, I think everybody should love one another, man. Bringing barriers down is huge. And I think barriers on an investigation would probably be mental barriers is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying full on riot gear, but mental barriers would be more of a hindrance than, letting your guard down a little bit. But sure. Again, this is just my personal opinion, just like that's your personal opinion.
Which is why you're on the show, because that's what you're here for. You're here to share your opinion and not have to agree with everything that
anybody, but dang it, that's the way I feel.
And there's nothing wrong with that, and you don't have to agree with me. You're not supposed to. That's why we have a good conversation and things.
You said we're supposed to get along, Mark.
We do get along. We're having a good evening so far. Let's not ruin it.
Kitsie, I'm having a blast.
I'm glad that you are. Kitsie Duncan is my guest here this evening on The Edge of the Unknown. Check out her webpage, oddityfiles.com, and Oddity Files Crew on YouTube. As I mentioned before, I love YouTube. I do my own YouTube channel, which is completely separate from this, and it's called Uncle Josh's True Scary Stories. I hope everybody checks it out. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of it's a lot of editing, and again, I come from the editing world. I was in radio, and that's what I did for a living for many years. But when you mentioned how much it is to actually do it, holy gosh, when you're trying to put out an hour show every week, everybody thinks like, oh, wait, how come you haven't done anything? It's like, oh, my God, I have a life, too. I can't just keep doing this.
Oh, yeah.
But everybody, hopefully that you guys will check that out. We have a question before we have to take our next break. Lovejoy Dave in the chat room says, Kitsie, have you ever been overwhelmed from a paranormal experience? Cool question. Thanks, Dave.
Yes. Well, first of all, I believe in a thing called a paranormal hangover. It's like you're drinking, because the next day even if you get a full, 8 hours sleep, you just feel beat up. And I think, again, it's the energies they pull from you and how much of your heart and soul you put into each investigation. I remember the little 15-year-old I was telling you about at Culbertson Mansion.
Yeah.
Well, I think she followed me home for a little bit, not in a bad way. I forgot to tell her she couldn't follow me home, and at one point asked her to follow me downstairs, and I think she followed me out of the building, which was very, very cool to me. Very cool. And I didn't know she was here till I was putting off editing, because, it's a chore. And I was planning on editing her episode, and then I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it today. Well, this was all internal inside my head, so I think she was listening. Electricity started turning off and on in my house everywhere I was at. which is weird. It's just a little flicker. But it was like I was in the bathroom, the light above me would flicker. All the other lights stayed on. I was putting on my makeup mirror. The makeup mirror light would flicker, but all the other lights, TV, everything else was fine. And I'm like, well, I'm going to sit down and watch all these DVR paranormal shows I have. And she started, what I believe was her, started turning off and on the amp on my TV like 10 times. I got one of them on video. I finally got the camera out and got video of it, just the amp off and back on. And I was talking to my husband about it because he was out of town. And he's like, I wonder, joking around, ha, 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 I wonder if it's Anna from Culbertson trying to tell you to edit the video. As soon as I started editing, it stopped. Not even kidding.
Huh.
So this went on for a while, and I'm in love with my Wonder Box. I know it sounds dirty, but it's not. It's what I hook up my spirit box, and it just works. I can't explain it. I think it's the crystals and the copper and the big brick battery that's attached to it that helps spirits come through. And so I used to do those till I got a little obsessive about it at home. Like every Sunday night, I'd do a Facebook Live of me in the Wonder Box. And she kept coming through and saying she was here. And she just let me know she was here. And then she'd go away. So one time, on a whim, the one time I investigated a friend's house, I didn't cleanse it or anything. I smudged it, but I didn't promise anything. I said out loud at home by myself, hey, Anna, why don't you go over to Glenn's house and tell me about the spirits over there? So I just let it go. And we get to Glenn's house, and she's coming through on the spirit box, the exact same voice we got from the Culbertson mansion, saying she was Anna and she was there and gave us a name. And I was like, what? This is awesome. So again, I don't know. There's no rules. I make no claims. I think that's what went down. She hasn't been around for a little bit. At least I haven't sensed her around for a little bit. As that was all going on, I have a 1-year-old Neapolitan Mastiff. And, I'm sitting home alone. It's me and Tasha, our Mastiff. And I'd be like, Anna, go play with Tasha. Go pet her. And Tasha would look at the stairs and go, Rrr. And I'm like, get out. So that's one thing that happened. It was good. It wasn't bad. I think she went back home or something like that. We'll see. She may pop up now that I'm talking about her.
That's interesting. And I know I'm pretty sure I know why Dave asked that question. He'll probably have a follow-up, as he usually does with all of our guests. But no, that's really kind of neat because I've never had that kind of experience. And again, like I said, I'm not an investigator, but do I go out to some places once in a while? Yeah, sure, but I'm never worried about it, and it doesn't sound like you were worried about it either.
I didn't believe in it until it happened. I'd be like, I read stuff on. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Nothing's ever followed me home. I've been to prisons. I've been to this, that, and the other. Nothing. But when we leave said prison, we say, okay, nothing. Just in case, nothing's allowed to follow us home. And we do our little sage thing. Just say, we're leaving this place in love, light, peace, and positivity. Nothing's allowed to follow us home. Blah blah blah. Well, we didn't at that location. So we do it now, just in case.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with a little safeguarding. That's fine.
Exactly.
You can never be too safe. Hey, we do have to take a break. We're going to go pay some bills here. Everyone out there in Radio Land, you are listening to Kitsie Duncan. She is from the Oddity Files, oddityfiles.com. Find them on YouTube, Oddity Files Crew. A really cool investigative series. Guys, it's more like watching a documentary than it is a lot of the other shows that are out there. And again, we're not going to beat them up, but I highly suggest you go and check this stuff out. oddityfiles.com, Oddity Files Crew on YouTube. We're going to be back right after this with more with Kitsie Duncan. We're taking you up until 10 o'clock. As we do each and every week. And you know what? It's funny. Kitsie, I used to, when I first started doing the show, when I was on WECK, I did 9 to midnight. And that seemed like such a fun thing to do in 2010 when I was much younger. And then I did 8 to 11, and now I'm doing 8 to 10, and I get emails every week. Can you go back to 8 to 11? But when you mentioned the fact that how you get that paranormal drain, I am not kidding. I think, and this is such a weird thing for me to say, because again, why am I talking so much about myself?
Because we're getting to know each other,
We
Mark.
are getting to know each other. But you know what? On Monday mornings, I am whipped. And I never was like that for a while, but after I started doing the show and talking to all the people that I talk to, including people like yourself, I wake up and I got to go to work, and I'm shot. It's like I'm not even awake until 9 o'clock, and I'm like, how did I even drive to work? I don't even remember how I got here. I'm so freaking drained. But I wonder if it has something to do with the subjects that we talk about and the stuff that we are going through tonight. So I don't know. Maybe we'll have a Red Bull at the end of the show, but during the time, I am keeping things rolling, and I hope you're having a good time as well. Oh, did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, you're still here. All right. So
anyway, I'm sorry.
No, you're quite all right. I just hope you're having a good time. We're going to be right back.
I'm having a wonderful time.
Awesome. Cool. All right.
I need that Red Bull now.
There you go. You can go have your Red Bull now. I know you've had a crazy weekend. Kitsie Duncan, my guest here on the Edge of the Unknown. Everybody, we'll be back right after this. Don't nobody go nowhere. If you live in the Western New York or Southern Ontario area and are looking to get a tattoo, then go see the cats at Sixth Order Tattoo in Buffalo, New York. Voted Best Tattoo Shop by Buffalo Spree Magazine, these are the guys to see for any ink project you can dream up. Shop owner Chris Capola and artist Joe Folmar, Andy Biscaglia, Nick Conter, Jake Miracle, and John Rutsky are proficient in many tattoo styles, including traditional American, Japanese, modern Polynesian, as well as illustrated and portrait tattoos. Have a design in mind? Bring it in. Stuck on ideas? They've got plenty to show you. I recently had my 8th piece of art inked by my man Joe Folmar, and I'm telling you, there's no other guy I trust with an ink gun, and that's why you should make an appointment at Sixth Order Tattoo today. Call them, 716-633-7171, or stop in. They're located at 3503 Genesee Street, just east of Union Road. Check out their website, sixthordertattoo.com, and find them on Facebook. Sixth Order Tattoo, the best ink for your body.
Siggy's Good Food in Manhattan sets the standard for home-style comfort food in a warm and casual environment. Located at 292 Elizabeth Street between Houston and Bleecker, Siggy's Good Food offers something for everyone. Vegetarian and meat eaters alike will find dozens of dishes to whet their palates and satisfy their appetites at great prices. Siggy's menu has many gluten-free and lactose-free dishes too, and everything is made with 100% organic, sustainable, and whole food ingredients. See the full menu at siggysgoodfood.com or call 212-226-5775. Make it your business to check out Siggy's Good Food, open Monday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 10:30 p.m., with brunch on the weekends from 11 until 3:30. Takeout and delivery are also available. That's Siggy's Good Food in Manhattan, siggysgoodfood.com, 212-226-5775. And remember, if you're an extraterrestrial, aliens eat free.
We first opened about 10 years ago. We were small, just a few of us, but it was exciting. I always dreamt of having my own business. It was kind of slow at first, but things started picking up. We had big plans. But in our wildest dreams, we never thought we'd have this much work. Yeah, with so many businesses caught off guard by the storm, Reed Waste Management has never been busier.
What will become of your business after a disaster? Nearly 2/3 of businesses aren't prepared for an emergency, and 40% of businesses that experience a disaster never recover. Make an emergency plan now, before it's too late. For a free online tool that helps you develop an emergency plan to keep your business up and running should disaster strike, visit ready.gov/business. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the American Red Cross, and the Ad Council.
We all face multiple stressors each day, from work deadlines and home and family obligations, not to mention body aches and pains that come with both active and inactive lifestyles. A great way to ease those tensions is by floating at the Silver Essence Floating Spa in Williamsville, New York. What is floating? It's a highly effective and therapeutic relaxation experience in which your body is suspended in warm, comforting salt water without stimulation from lights or sounds. Lay back and let tension drift away as you float in nearly zero gravity while your body is replenished with essential minerals like magnesium, potassium, sodium, and calcium, minerals vital to our health that are lost throughout the day. Floating at the Silver Essence Floating Spa is great for anyone, athletes, those rehabilitating from injury, or if you're just looking for a new way to relax. Floating is even known to increase creativity and speed up the healing process. Silver Essence is open Monday through Saturday with convenient morning and evening hours, and they offer infrared sauna treatments, membership deals, special packages, and much more. Check them out online at silveressencefloatingspa.com or call 716-568-7985. Conveniently located in downtown Williamsville. They're just minutes from anywhere. That's the Silver Essence Floating Spa. Get your float on and tell them you heard about them on the Edge of the Unknown.
Are you ready for something really scary? Stop over to the campfire at Uncle Josh's True Scary Stories on YouTube to listen to the most terrifying true stories you've ever heard. Ghostly phenomena, stalkers, monsters in the woods, terror on the highways. It's all there, and the stories are all true. Experience something you'd like to share? Email Uncle Josh, truescarystories@gmail.com to submit your terrifying tale. Uncle Josh's True Scary Stories. You can only wish the stories were a dream.
Without chupacabras, there's nothing to talk about. Back to the Edge of the Unknown.
There's plenty to talk about, despite the fact that we're not talking about chupacabras tonight. Hey, maybe there's one in my creek right behind my house. Lance the paranormal pup has come in after chasing the deer and the rabbits and whatever else might be out there. I'm sure there's plenty of raccoons and squirrels that he has also dutifully cleared out of the yard this evening. I am so happy to be sitting in my Florida room doing this show, talking with Kitsie Duncan from the Oddity Files tonight. Everybody, I hope you were enjoying the show so far. I hope you had a wonderful day, and we've got much more paranormal talk as we take you up until 10 o'clock at night. Now, you just mentioned that you had a Neapolitan Mastiff. My brother is a huge Mastiff guy. He's had a number of them. He's got one currently, a terribly, terribly cute little fuzzer who is gigantic, as all Mastiffs are. And I took a picture that I found in a parking lot while I was doing some grocery shopping of, you know, those people, they put the stick figures on the back of their cars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this one said, "My English Mastiff ate your stick family." And it was a giant Mastiff chasing the stick figure family away. And I thought that was so funny. I'm like, oh, and so I sent it to my brother, and he just immediately sent back a picture of his mutt. And I'm like, you know what? That's so funny that you have Mastiffs too. They are becoming a much more popular dog than I think they have been in quite some time. A lot of my friends are now looking into getting Mastiffs and St. Bernards and these giant dogs that I remember as a kid, nobody had a Mastiff. Nobody had a St. Bernard.
It's because we all grew up reading the Marmaduke comics.
Is that what it is? Okay.
I want a big dog.
I've got a big golden retriever, and he's going to be 15 next month. And I tell you what, there are days that it's still like he's a puppy, which is wonderful. So, but
great breed.
Yeah, he's done patrolling the backyard for now. But if anybody, again, as I mentioned in the first hour, if you hear barking in the background, that's Lance the paranormal pup. He's out there cruising and making sure that all is clear for Mark Henry and the Edge of the Unknown to roll on this evening. My guest is Kitsie Duncan. You can see her online at oddityfiles.com, and her group and all the investigations that they do at the Edge, or I'm at the Edge of the Unknown. I'm going to read the wrong thing. At the Oddity Files Crew on YouTube. You want to take a call?
Yes, please.
Let's do this. Let's grab a call here. Hang on one second. And for whatever reason, that is not what I'm supposed to be seeing right now. And that is odd. I thought I fixed this whole thing last week, which we had no problem with. We'll see if we can add that call again, but that looked like it was going to put you on hold, and that is certainly not what we're going to do. We are going to go grab an email and see if we can figure out that issue. Let's go to the wonderful town of Rochester, the wonderful city of Rochester. Aaron, who says, hi, I live in Rochester. Hope all is well with you. How long does it take to put together an episode of Oddity Files, and what kinds of cameras do you use? I'm in high school and taking a video arts class and want to do something like this. Also, what do you use for your shows, Mark? Not really spooky, but I hope you will read this. And again, this comes from Aaron in Rochester. More of a technical question, but what the heck? Let's throw that into the mix.
It's totally fun. Yeah, we use Sony's with Night Shot. We started doing it because those shows on TV all had that green screen, and it looks so crazy and so cool. We recently got a couple Canons, and again with the brain fart. They're fabulous. I wish I had one right here so I knew. You know what? I'll let you know.
Sure.
Our Facebook chat we have going on, Mark, what that was. They are Canons. They're higher end, but they've got nice, crisp night vision mode to them that I'm a huge fan of. I think there's only been 3 episodes we've put up with these Canons, and it's been the Culbertson Mansion episode, the little Oddisode, we did it in Step Cemetery, and then the Jailhouse Pizza one, which I think we didn't have to use night vision in part 1 of the Jailhouse Pizza episode that you watched.
So is this all just stuff that you picked up and, hey, we're going to learn this, we're going to do this? There wasn't a lot of, hey, we need to go to classes or anything like that?
No, not at all. We just kind of go, oh, let's make this work. And putting an episode together, and here's why it's so daunting for me, and I don't want to bore people, but Mark, you'll get this. So every time I set up a scene, or a little part of our investigation, I have 5 camera shots I need to line up, make sure they're all synced, and then I've got a separate line of audio. So that's what takes the longest, is putting these all together. And I try to remember to clap before we do every investigation, so I have that audio to line up. And I'm ADD along as OCD.
Sure.
And don't always remember to do that. But it takes me, if I have time to sit down and focus, I can usually get one put together in a week. But that's like all day, every day for a week.
It's funny. I mean, most of the stuff, like I mentioned, I just do is audio. There is video with a lot of it, but it's stock footage. And, I don't know what you use. I use Premiere and I use Sony Movie Maker Platinum for a lot of different things, but Premiere is my go-to. It is not an easy thing. And again, you're OCD. I have to be OCD because it has to be perfect or it's not going on the air. And man, does it take a while. So to Aaron in Rochester, good luck to you. I don't know what you've got and I don't know what you're using. But I mean, I use lots of different microphones. If I'm doing a live show with guests, it's a completely different setup than what I'm using right now. It's a completely different platform. It's a Behringer mixer. It's Shure microphones. It's Samson microphones when I do just straight voiceover stuff. What I'm using right now is not anything that I would use if I were having guests in a studio format. But yeah, I guess, Aaron, my best advice to you is try everything. And find out what you're comfortable with. And I would assume that you would say the same thing because you have to be comfortable with the equipment you're using, dealing with the fact that your show is about the paranormal and things that might happen that you're not expecting.
Right, exactly. Oh, and we also have full spectrum GoPros that we set up as our static cams during investigations as well. Those are absolutely amazing. I got those from Ghost Stop online. I think it's just ghoststop.com. That's a cheaper way than going with those Canons. But they have the audio and everything on them as well.
How hard is it to use? I mean, I have a GoPro, and I use it for a lot of different things that have nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight. And one of the things that I am always worried about is I can't monitor the sound until I actually download the files. Do you find that when you use those that you hear things that maybe possibly you wouldn't actually pick up if you were using something like a Canon or something like another camera that you could actually monitor what was coming through in the audio?
No, not generally. I haven't run into that. I'll pick up on the GoPros some things that the Canons or the Sonys won't visually, like, anomalies or dust particles, whatever you want to call them. It seems like the GoPros will pick up more of at least for me, it gets like a pulsating light sometimes that it'll pick up. It doesn't look like your average dust, but I don't know if it's because it's the full spectrum. And the only thing that makes it full spectrum is they take that UV lens out and then they put it back together. So, I mean, the audio and everything's the same on the GoPro. I've not run into any, EVPs or anything on the GoPros at all.
How much do you scrutinize the video the way that you would, say, for an EVP session? I know a lot of people will listen to those over and over and over. Do you do the same thing when you're putting a show together, or do you just kind of put it together and then say, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice that was happening, and this is actually a really fun byproduct and exactly what we were looking for?
That's pretty much it.
Perfect.
To be perfect honest, I'll be like, holy shit. I'll be taking my cell phone, taking videos of my laptop screen of something flying across the screen. I'll be texting it to the crew. Oh my God, what do you think this is? And sometimes it'll get me in trouble, and it'll just be, I think it's a ghost of a cat, and it's just somebody's foot. So, thank God I send it out to all these people to take a look at.
No, and that's a good thing. Cross-referencing, I think, is probably the safest way to be. I've heard some weird stuff. I've recorded some weird stuff, and I've actually sent it out to a couple of different places, and one being the University of Wyoming. I had a friend that worked there, and they ran it through all kinds of different machines, and a local skeptic group that actually you were on their show, as I mentioned earlier in this show. And it was funny because it wasn't anything fantastic. It wasn't any voice. It wasn't any just get out or what are you doing here or hey, I'm over here. It was just a very interesting sound. And both places that I had them look at or had look at it said whatever it was not mechanical. It was not you. And I thought, and I still have it, I thought that was one of the most intriguing things because it wasn't the voice. It wasn't the disembodied thing. And
right.
what you're talking about, though, is so much more fascinating than my stupid noise that it sounds like a car driving by, but I was in the middle of a building and there were absolutely no cars driving by. How do you feel when you capture something like that, the voices that you've heard? It's got to be satisfying, but at the same time, it's got to be kind of creepy.
Oh, yeah. It's like Christmas morning, but I'm scared to death.
Right.
The most, I don't get EVPs a lot. I really don't. And the more I talk to other people, not everybody gets a lot of EVPs. You watch the shows on TV and it's like, oh, everybody gets EVPs. But with the Spirit Box, I can hear a full sentence come across, but I can't get anything on a little cheap recorder I got at the pawn shop because everybody on their TV show's using it. Huh. But there's been 2 EVPs I've captured that have blown my mind. The first one being at a bed and breakfast in Edinburgh, Indiana here. It was Clayton was doing one of his flashlight sessions with the children that I don't know how he does it. Sometimes you watch that flashlight, you don't ask any questions. It just turns off and on by itself. Turns off. And so, it's the connector warming up, the connector releasing, But with Clayton, when he's speaking to the spirit of a child, it just turns on for a yes and it turns on for a no. It's just a gift he has. So he was questioning this little boy that the lady had said she had seen at the bed and breakfast, asking his age. And this is how I know his flashlight sessions are legit. He asked, "Are you 4 years old?" Nothing on the flashlight. He asked, "Are you 5 years old?" Nothing on the flashlight. But the recorder in the hallway picked up definitely a child's voice with a slight speech impediment say, "I'm 4.5." Wow.
Huh.
Yeah. So that's why he didn't say yes to either of those questions, because when you're 4.5, you're not 4 and you're not 5. So I don't know. And then back to Anna at the Culberson Mansion. Kitsie is a nickname of mine. It's what I introduce myself to all the spirits with. It's just what it is. My real name is Christina. Well, when Clayton gets really excited, he's like, "Christina this, Christina that." And but when I talk to spirits, it's never Christina.
Huh.
Just out of nowhere, we're just kind of trying to speak to this Anna spirit. And I turn around and look at Carter and I go, "Did you just burp?" He goes, "No, why?" I said, "It probably wasn't an EVP because I heard it with my ears." I said, "Well, then I heard a female voice." Again, Anna wanted me to edit that day, so I did, and I got a clear as day EVP. We weren't asking any questions or anything, but she was trying to get my attention because she goes, "Christina." I was like, "What?" That one was terrifying for me, just because it's me. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
that's when I kind of decided, yeah, she probably did follow me home for a little bit here.
You bring up something interesting, though, because when you say, we always talk about, well, it's the EVP, it's what you didn't hear while you were recording. What about the legitimacy of things that you do hear when you record? The only reason I'm bringing this up, one of my best friends, my friend Al, came home he lives in Seattle. He came home with his bride, and they'd never been to this place that I wanted to take them. He's into ghosts and Bigfoot and all this jazz that I'm into too. And we were hanging around trying to do an EVP session, but we hadn't seen each other in so long. So we were doing a lot of talking, but we both heard his name being called at the same time. And I have the recording of it, and I just said, "Holy shit, did you hear that?" And he was like, "Man, that's really weird." And to this day, he says that is the most freaky thing that he's ever experienced in a lot of other places that he's been around the round world. But we both heard it at the same time, something calling his name. There's got to be something to be said for that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you hear "Get Out" all the time, right?
Sure.
But when they see your name, it's like, oh, they're paying attention.
Yeah, he was wigged out, and I remember I shared it with him about maybe 6 months ago, and he was like, "Yeah, that night was pretty effed up." He was like, "That was kind of scary."
Did you end up getting it on the recorder as well?
Oh yeah, no, you can hear it. You can hear it clear as day in the background. And at first, I thought it was his wife, but we play it back and play it back and play it back. It was certainly not his wonderful bride. But and again, this was during daylight hours. This was not a, "Hey, we're all hanging out in the middle of the night trying to scare each other." This was just this is a neat place. You should check this out. And just he and I talking. It was pretty fascinating.
That is very cool. Very cool.
Let's do this. We do have to take a break, and I have to do this before the end of this here radio show as we wrap up things at 10 o'clock. I think one of the reasons that people cannot call in is you and I are not connected together on Skype. I think that's the reason, because two people have tried to call in and I've tried to connect them, and I think if you and I connect, if I hang up on you and then we do connect during this break, we will be able to move forward. So let's do that, because that would be kind of fun if we can grab a call or two before we have to wrap things up at 10 o'clock. So let me grab some things here, and I just want to run around, and boy, this is so hard doing it on one screen. I really need two. Moving forward, let's take a quick break, and we'll go from there. So everybody who is out there listening in Radio Land, Kitsie Duncan is my guest here on The Edge of the Unknown. We've got much more to come as we take you up until 10 o'clock. If you would be so kind to be patient, we would love that, and we would love to hear from you. theedgeoftheunknown@gmail.com. There are a couple of more questions in the email bag, but you can also feel free to give us a ring. 716-218-3557 is the phone number. We would love to hear from you. Everybody, stick around. We've got much more to come here on the Edge of the Unknown. Kitsie, Duncan, Oddity Files, oddityfiles.com, and look for them on YouTube, Oddity Files Crew. We'll be back right after this. Don't nobody go nowhere. Much more to come.
It's a fact. The best sounding music comes from analog audio found on vinyl records. But high quality vinyl has been hard to find until now. Records Etc. in Williamsville, New York is your destination for new and used vinyl records in a variety of categories from blues to Zydeco. Located in the Eastern Hills Mall, Records Etc. is easy to find and fun to shop. Classical, rock, comedy, and new wave are waiting for you at Records Etc. So dust off your turntable or pick one up at the store and start listening to music the way artists intended it to be heard. They also carry rock and roll memorabilia, t-shirts, posters, and more. That's Records Etc. in the Eastern Hills Mall in Williamsville. Call 716-481-7177 and ask for Ray for more information. Records Etc. Tunes for our times.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Looking for the best Japanese and Thai cuisine in Western New York? Then you have to visit Teton Kitchen at 415 Dick Road in Depew. From appetizers and soups, simple, special, big, and fusion-style maki, to sushi, sashimi, and tempura, you won't get a range of items like this anywhere. Hungry for more? Teton Kitchen offers a full dinner menu and kushiyaki dishes, as well as a huge variety of sake, wine, beer, both domestic and Asian imports. Owner Taka and his bride Kin are proud to boast that Teton Kitchen is Yelp's #1 rated restaurant in Western New York, and they welcome you for lunch or dinner 7 days a week with takeout and online ordering available. Visit TetonKitchen.com for their full menu, hours, and online ordering, or call 716-393-3720. Teton Kitchen, 415 Dick Road in Depew.
Itadakimasu.
Whoa, long time no see. It's me, the Rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I could really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Hello. What are your fears? Are you badgered by domestic affairs, haunted by ghosts or demons, terrorized by those who would use magic as a weapon, or tormented from within? I can end it. I can stop it. I can cast them away, for I am a sorcerer, and protecting people from these things is what I do. Seek my services at sorcererforhire.com or call now for faster service 206-501-0444 because time is not on your side.
Hello, this is Archbishop Ron File. You're listening to The Edge of the Unknown with Mark Henry.
And that's good to hear from Archbishop Ron File. Man, what a ride he has had in the last couple of months. Unfortunately, Archbishop Ron File cannot be on the Edge of the Unknown. For those of you who have been following me for the last few years, and gosh, the show has been on the air in different forms for 7 years, Archbishop Ron File lost his hearing during an exorcism. And he is doing really well after another medical setback. He actually sent out a little missive to some of us who are privy to his private life. And he's bounced back from something that was what we thought was actually going to take his life. And he's doing very, very well. But unfortunately, as I mentioned, he lost his hearing and can't actually do radio shows anymore. You might have heard him on my show. You probably have heard him on Coast to Coast. Archbishop Ron is one of the neatest people I have ever known. He's a terrific, terrific guy, but unfortunately, his radio days are likely done. But hey, you never know. There could be something else miraculously happening in his life that makes it possible for him to come back on the air. But we went back and forth. I wanted him to be on in the month of October, and he just had to politely decline and let me know a little bit about his situation. But he is doing well. He is healthy, and he's getting back from a little bit of a health setback. But hey, you know what? We've got a great show going on right now with someone who is not named Archbishop Ron File. Her name is Kitsie Duncan, and she is from the Oddity Files, oddityfiles.com, and of course find them on YouTube, Oddity Files Crew. So I know you mentioned that there was a little bit of a snafu there with YouTube. Has it been that big of a deal to put things up on YouTube and make sure that they are exactly the way that you want them to be?
Well, honestly, I had put up an episode, and my son, Carter, who I've brought up several times, had made the music for that. I was going to do new intro music. I've been using the one made by a friend for years, and he made it himself on his fancy little thing he wanted to be a DJ on. And they removed it due to copyright issues, and they wouldn't tell me more. And they said, if I dispute it, I can lose access to my account. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to dispute it. And I lost, I couldn't put anything longer than 10 minutes up.
No kidding.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's still up there. It's got a lot of our older stuff on it. It hasn't been updated in like a year and a half because that's when it happened. But I'm like, no, seriously, unless my son's pulling wool over my eyes, he made this. So that's the only thing I could think of that I had the right to go and investigate the place. I was worried it was the location maybe put something up. Well, we decided we didn't want this posted, but no, they were sharing the episode on their Facebook page. So I'm still not sure what happened there.
It's such a weird thing. As I mentioned, I do the scary story thing. And with this show, once I went all straight online, I found a guy who I've been using his stuff for years and years and years. His name is Mark9, and he gets credit every episode because he's amazing, and he lets me use his music. It is such a fine line because when I was on terrestrial radio, I could use whatever I wanted because we were paying ASCAP and BMI fees. But it's unbelievable the way that they crack down on you online to say, you can't air this anymore because there's 5 seconds of some clip that you might even have permission to play.
Damn you, Napster. Where are you now? See?
Right? Oh, God. Remember Napster? And there's probably a whole bunch of millennials listening right now going, what the hell is Napster? But anyway.
What's a record?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, what's a Napster? What's PPI? Anyway, so... let's grab a question here. And I want to go to P writes in and says, nice to hear some talk that isn't about national anthems and taking a knee, so thanks. Kitsie, where do you sit on the skeptic-believer fence, and why do you hold either position? P, thanks for writing in. Appreciate it.
P, that's a question I ask myself all the time. It depends on the investigation, whether I'm a skeptic or whether I'm a believer. I'm a skeptic who wants to believe is how I classify myself. But, the more I do it and the more things I see and the more things I hear and the more feelings, screw it, I'm a believer. It just happened right here.
Do you really, I'm dead serious. You really think so? You're a straight believer?
No.
Okay, see? Well, at least we cleared that up.
Well, I proclaimed believer, and the headlines would have been crazy tomorrow. Forget that dropping a knee stuff. Kitsie's a believer. And even I've seen a spirit. I really, really have. But the people I was with at the time didn't see it. So I can't say I'm a believer. I'm crazy. That's it. The headline tomorrow is Kitsie Duncan is batshit crazy.
No, I don't think you're crazy, but my question now to you is, does someone else have to have the same experience for you to justify the way that you approach it or the way that you believe it?
I don't think so. No, I don't. Well, who was with me at the time when I saw said spirit was my husband.
Okay.
Who doesn't come with on investigations anymore. He just falls asleep anyway. He's that much of a skeptic. But he started that rule at that point, probably my third investigation, and I saw this little girl from the fairy plantation. She smiled at me. She peeked around the corner. It was amazing. He goes, you know what? You didn't get it on video. It didn't happen. I'm like, well, shit, he's right. It happened for me, but for nobody else. And that's why I don't want to pull I was a skeptic and now I'm a believer, but I don't know. I want the proof. I want everybody to see and feel what I feel. Does that make any sense?
It does. It makes perfect sense. And one of the questions I've asked investigative groups over and over and over, what is more important to you? A personal experience or something that you recorded, whether it be an EVP or some kind of video? What makes more of a difference to you in the idea of, hey, we're actually making some headway in these investigations?
That is an excellent question. Making headway in investigations, I would say that the proof. But I love the personal experience as well. I really do. And I love even, let's say Clayton and I did our first investigation recently. It was just the two of us. We were terrified. I'm not even going to lie. We were terrified. And we had so many personal experiences there that we were just, lit. That paranormal hangover didn't happen till like 2 days later because we were still on this high of all this stuff we heard and this, that, and the other. I have not reviewed the evidence yet, so maybe it's on there. But at the time, we were there and it happened and it was crazy. But in the world, in the internet world that we live in, not that I care what anybody else thinks. I just want something to put out there to say, hey, look at this. Now think about it. Right?
I agree. And that's why I do this show. It's not necessarily about, hey, we're going to prove something tonight, or my guest is here as an expert and they know everything. It's about a discussion. It's about, hey, we should be talking about this stuff because it is interesting, number one. And number two, there's so much that we don't really understand about the world that we're going to wake up to tomorrow, the world we're going to fall asleep to tonight. And why not actually talk about it, have an open forum rather than fall in line and say, well, nothing's going to change, nothing's going to be different. That's never going to happen. The truth is that we don't know so much about so much, and to close our minds and our eyes and our ears and all of our other senses, to me, is foolish.
Oh, I totally agree. I think the world would be such a wonderful place if people were just a little more open-minded and just listened. Don't get me started.
Let's grab another email here. theedgeoftheunknown@gmail.com. Hey, if you guys want to try giving us a ring again, I think we might have solved one of the issues. And the number is 716-218-3557. theedgeoftheunknown@gmail.com, and of course Facebook, you can find me there, Edge of the Unknown Radio Show. But let's grab a question here, and I've got to run down through here. Okay, let's go to Carly. Carly writes in and says, what's your position on haunted objects? I see more and more of these things popping up and more shows. Thanks, Carly. Carly, thank you for being on the Edge.
I want to know more about haunted objects. Like I said, I'd gone to that CryptidCon just to see the Newkirks and their traveling haunted exhibit of all these items they've collected. And they told the most interesting story about one of the pieces they have. And it's terrifying, but I want to go to it. I want to see it. I want to hold it. I'm intrigued by haunted objects. I really am.
Are you really?
You see them for sale on eBay, even freaking Etsy. You can allegedly buy haunted dolls. But honestly, the whole quote-unquote empath side of me, I'll be walking through certain antique malls here, there, and the other. And I'll go down one aisle and I'll be like, oh, there's something here. I can't put my finger on it because I'm not a psychic. I'm just an empath, but I know something's there. So I think it's a thing. I don't know if all of them are a thing, but I think it's a thing.
I'm gonna voice my opinion. I'm not so sure about haunted objects, and I know a friend of mine who, hopefully, Joe, and I'm gonna call you out right now, from Paranormal Crossing. You better be on my show sooner or later. They keep ducking me. But they have a really cool show, similar to yours. He is opening up a place here not too far from me called Paranormal Oddities. It's going to be a shop that he's got, and he says that he has some haunted objects. I don't know if that's a thing, and he would yell at me, and I can't really drag him into this too much. But why would anything haunt a doll? I guess that's a question to you, and a question that I would have to Lorraine Warren, because, well, there's this doll that we have that's haunted, and it can't leave the cabinet. Give it to me for a weekend. Let's see what happens. I'm willing to do it. You want to put your money where your mouth is, I'm your Huckleberry.
Huckleberry, I love it. And that's the thing. Why? I've watched the show. We know what show we're talking about. Why, when he puts it under glass, does that just stop everything from happening? Right?
My point. It's like, what does that have? Does glass have some kind of crazy power that suddenly paranormal activity no longer exists because you put it in your basement? And oh gosh, don't even get me started on Zaphis. But anyway, I said I wasn't going to beat anybody up on the TV shows.
You're not necessarily, but it is a question I want an answer to. It really is. And when I went to see, I can't remember the name of their website. They're lovely, lovely people. The Newkirks, they run Planet Weird and things like that.
Sure.
I walked up to their table, and again, my crazy / empath, I was drawn to their Billy the Idol. It's an idol they have that they were given to somebody. I wanted to hold Billy the Idol, and I wanted to learn more about Billy the Idol. So, of course, I went to their panel. I'm in love with Billy the Idol. He's kind of the evidence they showed us. It was amazing. Granted, again, I wasn't there to witness any of this. This was a story. It was a beautiful story. And I like these people. I trust these people. Sure. I'm going to say it's true. because they say it's true. Don't hold me to any of this if it's far shit. But it's very intriguing to me, and I don't understand why it couldn't be a thing, but I don't understand why it would be a thing. Again, that's this whole, it's not an industry, but you know what I mean. That's this whole paranormal thing. There's no rules.
But I agree with what you're saying, because the truth is, with stuff like this and the things that we've been talking about tonight, your experiences, and I've mentioned some of my experiences, and I just mentioned my buddy Joe, who has what he considers a haunted object. There is a level of trust, and there's a level of, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt more than there is in anything else. Whether we can prove the things that we've heard, experienced, or seen are paranormal is probably beyond us. But if we're going to talk about it, we should at least be able to say, okay, I know you, and I know what you've been through. Let's have an open dialogue before we shoot each other down.
Preach, brother, preach.
You know, you mentioned paradrama. Holy crud, have I been pulled into paradrama and had nothing. I'm not even an investigator. I don't even do this sort of thing. I just have this silly radio show on a Sunday night, and I've been pulled into stuff that I never thought that would ever happen. But it's still about me being on every Sunday night, talking to people like yourself, talking to people who want to share, and people who are actually going out into the field looking for things and not just sitting back on their laurels going, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah, I know. I save the drama for the mama. I can't even. Sound like my children. I can't even.
I can't even. Does that ever bother you, though, where, folks that I've had on this show, folks like Ben Radford, friend of the show, I love Ben to death, Joe Nickel, also from CFI, who have gone out in the field. Those guys I trust because they have gone out and done their homework. They have gone out into the field. It's the armchair quarterbacks on both sides, whether it's believer or skeptic. How do you approach those folks who want to just sit back and go, "Oh, you're full of shit. That never happened. You're just." It's something to play with. It's something to make your life a little bit more exciting. How do you approach those people?
I block them. I block them on Facebook. I don't have time or the tolerance for the negativity. I am a happy person. I am a very loving person because I ain't got no time for negativity. I can't deal with it. I can't. I don't have a lot of friends. The friends I have, I trust. I love. They're amazing people. Life's too short and the internet's just so full of negativity out there. It's terrible. I say, we just need to love one another.
And you know what? Being on Facebook is one thing, but what I've realized is when I do the things that I do on YouTube, the way that you do, it is unbelievable to people who comment and have something to say. It's unbelievable because it's not people that you're friends with. They're complete strangers who might not even give your piece of work a decent take. They'll watch 40 seconds of it and then just have a whole bunch of derogatory things to say about you. I mean, that really is the way YouTube works.
On all of our videos. I just turn them off.
Do you respond to them, or do you engage with them, or you just get rid of them?
You can't even comment on it because I have the comments turned off. I won't lie. I don't have time for that shit.
No, you're right, because trust me, I have one guy who says the same comment every time on any video I do, and I'm not really I don't even know what it means. But it's derogatory to another race, and it's slapping babies and something else, and I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Why would you take the time out of your day to listen to my channel and then actually say something that stupid?
Exactly.
I don't know. So
I don't get why I don't even let it happen. Yep. I sound like such a hippie right now. I can't. And the internet is just, it's all armchair quarterbacks. It is. Everybody knows more than you, this, that, and the other. And this whole interview, I've never claimed to be an expert in anything.
Sure.
I say I might be an empath because somebody said that, but I'm probably just batshit crazy. I don't know. And I'm not going to tell somebody how to live their life. I don't understand why everybody else tells everybody how to live their lives online. It's so pathetic.
Having said that, no, that's fine. So what's in the works? I know that you've had a very busy weekend doing your day thing, but what can we expect from the Oddity Files moving forward?
Oh, God, I hope a whole lot. I've got about 4 investigations I still have to edit. So, but first and foremost, I'm going on vacation, not this week, but next week.
Oh, good for you.
That's the most important thing.
Someplace fun?
Martha's Vineyard.
Oh,
Talk about history and amazing. My husband's a huge fan of the movie Jaws, so he loves it there.
Right on.
And I love the history of the place and just architect. That's another thing that I love so much about investigating is I'm an architectural nut. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I love a pretty building.
Sure.
And Edinburgh, we stay in Edinburgh on Martha's Vineyard, and it's just so beautiful. And you guys have so much rich history on the East Coast. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful over there. In the Midwest, we knock everything down and rebuild it. You guys have buildings that have been there for hundreds of years, and they're so stunning.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm a snob because my wife and I honeymooned in Nantucket, which is a little farther over.
Yeah.
My uncle owns a couple of places on Nantucket. He's the rich one. That's not the one that's taking care of me. I'm the one who... I went to a state school. He didn't. Anyway, but that's awesome. No, and that's terrific that you get to take a little bit of time out. But are you planning on doing anything out there, or is it kind of a shutdown to just do real vacation stuff and not really delve into anything paranormal? Because there's got to be plenty of paranormal places on Martha's Vineyard.
I will tell you what, we're not investigating on Martha's Vineyard, but the weekend before, we're a bunch of friends and I are going to hit up Penhurst, and I'm pretty stoked.
Now,
I've never investigated there. I've done, the whole haunted attraction part of it, but I've never actually investigated it. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time there, just kind of show some friends what we do and things like that. And I am super pumped about that. But the rest of it is just me and hubby, and we're going to hopefully do nothing but shop and eat lots of lobster.
And just relax. Those are the best vacations. You know, it's funny. My mom happens to live on the Gulf Coast of Florida, and I've gone down there, and every time I go, I still do a show on Sunday night. And I can't let it go, and I probably ought to. And I'm pretty sure my wife was just like, would say the same thing, like, stop doing that. You can take a week off. I just am so obsessed about talking to people like yourself that it feels empty, that if I don't do it, it's like something that I missed and something that I kind of screwed up, and I'm screwing other people out of hearing interesting people and interesting stories.
No, I get it. I will probably go, be sitting in the room when I leave my hard drive at home with all the footage on it, when he's off, grabbing coffee or something in the morning in the fetal position going, I wish I could edit. I wish I could edit. I wish I could edit. But I'm not even going to go there.
Well, hey, let's do this. It has been a blast, but we do have to wrap things up. Would you be willing to come on in a couple of months to talk a little bit more about the investigations and the stuff that you're editing right now? I would love to do a little bit more about what the show is and maybe play some clips and get a little bit more into the investigations other than this kind of introductory thing that we've done this evening. If you're down with that, I would love to have you back on.
I am so down.
Awesome. Kitsie Duncan, my guest here this evening on the Edge of the Unknown. Find their website, oddityfiles.com, and of course you can find them on YouTube. Man, you know what? One thing that I always tell everybody, they don't realize YouTube is the second largest search engine right behind Google. Of course, Google owns it, but that's where everybody goes for everything, and that's where you can go for good paranormal content, whether it be my silly show, The Edge of the Unknown, whether it be my Uncle Josh's True Scary Stories, or my guests page, the Oddity Files Crew. That's where you guys need to go. Kitsie, thank you so much for being on. Stick around. I want to talk to you after we go off the air, but it has been a pleasure speaking with you, and I hope that you've had a great time.
I absolutely did, and I can't wait to do it again.
Awesome. All right, everybody, we got to wrap things up here. And, okay, hey, there he is. The paranormal pooch is out in the backyard chasing something out of the yard. Okay, well, hopefully Kitsie's dog is also doing the same thing, keeping the scary monsters away from us. They're not really scary. They're just woodland creatures, but it's been a lot of fun talking with her. Again, Kitsie, thank you so much for being on. Guys, that is going to do it for this week. Thanks for hanging out with me on a Sunday night. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you will follow me throughout the week and throughout the month of October. Man, a lot of kick-ass guests. Mike Siege, Stanton Friedman, Steve Culls. It's going to be a fun time. The season of unreason, but it is one of my favorite times to talk about the paranormal, obviously with Halloween wrapping everything up. Thanks to my wonderful sponsors. Thanks again to Mark 9 of Houston, Texas, for producing and providing me all of the bump music. Check out my other endeavor on YouTube, Uncle Josh's True Scary Stories. And again, make sure that you check out Kitsie's page, oddityfiles.com, Oddity Files Crew on YouTube. The best in paranormal investigation, in my opinion. I think it's awesome, and I hope that you will find it that way too. Everybody, be excellent to one another. Take care. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And remember, be wary of things that go bump in the night. It could be anything. A ghost, a monster, or the guy next door.